Hello out there in internet land. How are you all doing? Welcome to what I think might be a new series called Night Owling with Enshohma. Night Owl, by the way, is just the terminology for people who stay up late, and it's one of my favorite words and terminologies out there. And I love staying up late at night for various reasons, even though when I do have work in the morning. So this will not be a very long live stream. Although I do have one person with me tonight, and that is, forgive me if I say your name wrong, Jugless Juggler 89. I would love to know what the origins behind that name is. But yeah, this is apparently. Hi there. This is his first time on one of my live streams. Now, I do have a live stream planned for later tonight with several friends. I have confirmation that Win, everyone's favorite girl who voices little aliens, will be joining us alongside Mark, aka Hawanji from Why I Hate the World. So we got two of them. And by the way, the song you listened to was the theme song to the 19. Hold on, let me get the full details on this. I am not that good at multitasking, so forgive me for not being able to give you the full information right away, but I'm definitely going to share what that song was, if I can get all the details. All right. It is the theme song to a 1979 science fiction horror thriller called The Visitor, also known as Stratulum in Italy, and its original Italian name. It's one of those Italian science fiction horror films that with a lot of has-been American actors in it. John Huston. So I love the guy, but let's face it, he wasn't in the right place with his career. And the music was done by Franco Michelazzi. And the Visitor sound, the movie itself is a weird watch, but the soundtrack is amazing. You can find full tracks of it on YouTube. But I thought it was a perfect song to start off with late night. Although I was tempted to play the Aquabat song, Good Night, but that may have been a slightly copyrighted. And we'll just call you Juggler 89. Says he he does like the song. Gave your answer right there what the song's name was. Okay, I figured it was based after the Ultraman Orb villain. So, okay. Also, The Visitor might be still on YouTube. I know there's a full version of it somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, there you go. So, yeah, so Juggler89, since you're the only one here, if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. Thank you very much for the comment on my on the title cards I do for Brendan. I think he's taking a little break from title cards for now, just so he can get videos out on a quicker time. And I'm not the fastest artist out there, although I've definitely kind of improved in the last couple of months. But we'll see what happens. There's always plenty of things to do, and I got a huge colors job coming in March too. So, and you do like weird movies. I think you'll like The Visitor. Like most 70s movies, it's not an action minute boiler, but it does have a lot of weirdness to it. As for The Visitor, I don't know if I can find I don't have the poster on me or something. But I will definitely use the music to close out tonight's little live stream, which is probably just going to be an hour. But The Visitor is a very interesting movie. It's one of those late 70s Italian movies that try to rip off one or two popular movies that were at the time. But this one goes full in with taking both science fiction that was popular and towards the end of the 70s, as well as the kind of satanic panic stuff in which movies like The Omen, Rosemary's Baby were inspired by. Except it's a similar tale to The Omen, but with a science fiction twist, where a little girl apparently inherits the genes of a ancient and terrible satanic mutant. And it's up to the titular visitor, John Huston's character, who might be an alien or an ancient human, to stop her evil. But a lot of horrible things happened before then, because there's one thing about Italian cinema, it's Italian fantasy cinema. The lead hero is very ineffective at keeping innocent people from getting gouged, killed, flamed, surgically experimented on. It's just all sorts of stuff. But it's a very insane movie, and I think it was kind of a lost movie for a long time. Not like Turkish Star Wars. Turkish Star Wars is a more playful, childish type film, despite some of the violence thrown in there. But yeah, no, this is think of like The Omen meets extended Star Wars lore, and you have a good idea what's going on. Thank you, Juggler89. You are a very cool dude. Thank you. If you met me in person, that opinion would change immediately. So, by the way, the artwork you're looking at is just one of many just basic backgrounds that I have on tap. This one I used in the background for the Godzilla vs. Gigan title card. And I like it so much that I've used it several times, as well as just kind of a wallpaper on my computer. But I thought it'd be perfect for tonight's little title card. I'll try to throw up some images if I just talk about random subjects. But the problem is I don't multitask well. And me trying to find an image online and then trying to post it up does not work, especially with OBS. Although I have tons of images in my personal folders that would work quite well. But getting back to The Visitor, yeah, I would recommend it if you don't mind kind of like weird satanic panic horror movies of the 70s, like The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, with a little bit of a sci-fi edge to it. Definitely go for it. In fact, actually, not for me. If you don't like satanic panic movies, I'm just doing a comparison, but I think you might. I think you still would check out The Visitor, but there are more insane movies out there. If I can think of any, I will definitely recommend them. There are 3 people watching right now, so if you guys want to call off right now, by all means, go ahead. Like I said, this is going to be a fairly short live stream. I'm just going to keep it for an hour or two, just by myself. I'm open to any and all questions. If not, I'm just going to randomly talk about some stuff I was doing today or stuff that piqued my interest of late. So, and what has piqued my interest of late? Well, dear viewer, I'm thinking of going back into my illustration commentaries, but I'm thinking of doing that's okay. It's nice to know that I'm not the only one who can't multitask. Thank you, Juggler. You're my new buddy. You're my sidekick for tonight's Odyssey. And it's 1 a.m. too, so it's technically 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. over in New York. So yeah, no one's watching this, but I just wanted to kind of test out live streams. I'm using YouTube's current version of live streaming. And the unfortunate thing about that, though, is you can't schedule stuff ahead of time, unlike the older classic YouTube Studios version of live streaming. So, but I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'd like to give everybody a heads up, even knowing the stream I have planned for tonight with my 2 friends was kind of pushed back from Sunday all the way to Wednesday night. But hopefully more people will show up there. It'll be a little earlier, around 7:30 my end. I'm in California Pacific time. Uh-oh, who's that? Okay, we're not completely alone, ladies and gentlemen. I have with me my Chihuahua, Nippo, short for Napoleon. And he gets really angsty if he doesn't fall asleep in my arms. So I'm going to hold him for a little bit. But if you hear a little going on, you'll know. And I wish I had a little camera on me. In fact, actually, no. I think the camera and the image sharing are 2 separate things. Juggler has a question. Here's a question. If Tommy Wiseau and Hung Ri-shim made a movie together, what are your thoughts? Thank you. Yep, I'm in Pennsylvania, by the way. Pennsylvania. Land of vampires and pencil manufacturing. You probably get that joke all the time from people who live outside of Pennsylvania. Okay, so I know who Tommy Wiseau is, who's also probably a vampire. I don't remember Hung Ri-shim. That name does sound familiar, though. If you let me check on Google just to get a refresher instead of waiting for Juggler to give a reply. He's probably made a... Oh, Shim Hung Ray. Okay, I know who this Joker is. He's the guy behind... It's ironic you should mention that because I've been doing a lot of contributing and editing to Wikizilla lately. and been dropping as much obscure monster factoids into that website, especially since it seems that Wikizilla is starting to accept a wider variety of lesser known giant monster movies, as long as they're tertiarily connected to the kaiju genre. Now, they're not featuring stuff like, God, what is it, like Kronos from 1957, or a lot of American movies that just happen to have giant monsters, but movies that are kind of tertiarily connected to it. And of course, the 1999 2001 version of Yongari, better known as Reptilian, has its own page there. And recently, somebody posted a documentary called the Yongari Chronicle, or Chronicle Project, or something of that nature. It's a roughly 2-hour documentary about the making of Reptilian. And although it has a lot of neat little tidbits and rare footage, the majority of the documentary are just the American actors' travel log slash videos of their time in between the making of the movie, complete with like subtly culturally insensitive jokes about all the girls working at the various hotels being possibly prostitutes. And considering the crappy nature of these movies that Mr. Hong Ray Shim has made, to be honest, okay, to get back to your question, if Tommy Wiseau and Hong Ray Shim made a movie together, I think well, first off, I can't imagine a weird world where those two would meet up and work together, especially since Hong Ray Shim is currently kind of in hiding right now. He owes so many people money from the failures of his couple of 09 films, D-Wars and The Last Gangster, that and plus 09 Films has basically gone out of business. It's bankrupt. Meanwhile, Tommy Wiseau, I don't think he's made a new movie recently. He probably has made a movie recently, but other than that, he's kind of enjoying the wave of continuing success from The Room. And even though I'm not a big fan of The Room myself, it's still I still admire the man and people connected to it. Um, okay. Okay. All right. So there's a message that I'm not going to. Yep, it's a scam. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, yeah. Okay, you saw the documentary too. I'm just leaving out of the. Okay, so apparently, yeah, it's just the American actors from Younger reacting like idiots. I want to. It's like you can kind of get a sense of camaraderie. I don't think they're the worst people in the world, but at the same time, it really is like watching a bunch of like 30 to 70-year-olds doing frat party type stuff. But yeah, a movie made between those guys. I don't know how that movie would be like. It'd probably be a more awkward version of D War, I think would be the best way to describe it. Tommy is a wizard. Probably. So, vampires can't do much, technically speaking. But a movie between those two guys, I don't know. I think it would be a slightly more finesse version of Reptilian, a slightly worse version of D Wars, or most likely Mr. Shim will kick Tommy off the production, and it'll take like 8 years for them, whatever this movie is, to get finished. So, but things that have piqued my interest lately. Well, like I said, I've been doing a lot of editing on Wikizilla and posting tons of monster-related images and tidbits that you don't often see. And thankfully, the website itself has become more open to some of the obscurities I've been sharing, but also some of their own people, I think, have either taken my suggestions. Forgive me, I got hiccups now. This always happens when I don't talk for a long time. They either took some of my suggestions, or they're kind of opening up and doing obscure things on their end where they feel more comfortable about it. But yeah, they started like a list of like minor monsters, then giving small sections to some like the really obscure monsters that barely show up in movies, like the various co-stars of The Last Dinosaur, the giant rhinoceros, the triceratops, the pterodactyls, the boneyard that the giant tyrannosaurus lives in, the cosmic spores. I finally found out what their names are. Those are the little spores that Gulala is born from. And even knowing I couldn't find a good official name, the English dub referred to them as cosmic spores on multiple occasions. And those are little spores in which Gulala is born from. But one of the spores, the other ones, I don't know if they'd be like other Gulalas or different monsters altogether. But yeah, hold on, I'll get a picture here in a moment. So, but yeah, I've been kind of updating little pages there. Oh, and also the giant shark and the monster reptile from the terrible 1979 King Kong ripoff Ape, also from South Korea. If you thought reptilian is bad, ho ho, ooh, ouchie, 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 ouchie. And also this might pique the interest of some of you obscure kaiju fans. I have actually been trying to get a page up and running based on the obscure 1960s King Kong comic book. Now, there's Editorial Obanze, or Abanza. I think I'm saying the name wrong. I am definitely probably saying the name wrong. They... Okay, hold on. Do 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 do. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm terrible at multitasking. My brain freezes. So that's why it's usually better to get like other people around here. But until then, I'm going to share some obscure giant monster information with you, because I know I might not be able to do it on tonight's or tomorrow's live stream. Actually, it's Wednesday night, and right now it's early Wednesday morning. So we just turned Wednesday a little while ago. But Messing and Company back in the 1960s made a King Kong comic book, and that company is called Editoria Orizaba. That's supposed. I don't know what that means. Believe it or not, despite my Hispanic background, I do not speak a word of Spanish. Well, a handful of words, but I do not speak the language whatsoever. But this company back in the 60s, Editorial Orizaba, that sounds like a Japanese company, not Messing and Company. They did a King Kong series. I don't know how official it was, because again, King Kong is a very iffy copyright, so they might have, so it may be semi-official in the sense that yes, it's King Kong, but it's not RKO directed, connected King Kong. But they made like a series of comic books back in the 1960s. It ran for well over 150 issues, possibly 200 issues at most. And what you're seeing here is a compilation of images I gathered, because the series is so obscure that it's very difficult to find large-scale scans. So as a compromise, I just took these very small images, and thankfully they were all similar sized, and made a little compilation of images that give you a good idea what's going on. And it is dynamic cover art, even though when the artwork inside leaves a lot to desire. And I don't know anything of the story except that it seems to be a sort of Tarzan type adventure on Skull Island, or wherever this King Kong is currently living in, with a male and female lead, our Tarzan and Jane, if you will. But also a lot of... they live with King Kong. Not exactly Tarzan and Jane, but sort of a substitute for them. Although, considering the iffy nature of this comic book, I would not be surprised if it is Tarzan and Jane. And yes, Kong did have a crossover with Tarzan on numerous occasions. Most recently, a comic book from DeVito Art Studios. Same people behind Kong, King of Skull Island, and those really good books and comic books from Boom Studios. But yeah, it seems to be that. And then King Kong occasionally battles giant monsters. You can see him wrestling against a giant lavender-colored snake on the top row, a flock of giant eagles. He's holding a burning tree, taking on a bunch of killer rats. He's showing off his buns while fighting alien invasion. A couple of deadly Dimetrodons on the second row. So yeah, this gives you an idea of what these kind of comic books were about. And like I said, sadly, because of the obscure nature of these comics, there's not much to go on. Although I hope to change that in the near future, both on my blog, Enshohma Corner, and also hopefully on Wikizilla itself, if they let me do a whole page on it. So, okay. If you guys got any more questions, if anybody's in there, there's 4 people watching now. Wow, that's 4 more than I'm expecting. Although one of them is me. So, but yeah, welcome to anybody here who's listening. If you have any questions, let me know. Try to be civil about them. Usually, I get the one or two trolls who just show up out of nowhere. Um, That's another thing I don't like about myself. I just say a lot of ums. That is like my least favorite thing. I think that's why I don't like doing podcasts live. I like to do podcasts that can be edited down and cleaned up. And sadly, a lot of, yeah, that's a lot of work, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I've been getting into a lot of obscure kaiju stuff lately. Maybe a little too much because I do have at least two pieces of artwork I need to finish before March. One is a cover for my friend Ace Marok, um, who was on live stream, my live stream of consciousness not too long ago, in the episode entitled Batagilia Returns, which is a dumb little pun of a name. But I think I can share this just very quickly. And hold on, as usual, I gotta transform it so it'll fit into the whole screen. Fit the screen. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, I know you're not a troll juggler. Just try to just try to tone down the cursing. I know this is definitely not a live stream for kids, but at the same time, yeah, I don't want you to get in trouble in case YouTube decides to get all fascist with their nonsense. But I'll read your comment out loud. This is very cool. I'm a bit Thai myself, and I know what you mean. Yeah, Kong is a huge BF-fury in terms of legal status. Those DeVito books are very cool. Excuse my language. You're excused, my friend. You're excused. Um, but yeah, okay. It just showed up on the live stream itself. Although I probably won't talk about it right now. There is sort of a 30-second delay. But this is a cover image that I'm doing for my friend Andrew, also known as Ace Marok. It's for a comic book series he's doing with a friend. And the artwork you see behind the digital overlay, which is the green and red stuff, that's his original illustration. But I'm kind of redoing it from not from scratch. Kind of, I'm a tracer. Okay, I'm a filthy goddamn tracer, as it would say in Chasing Amy, or Mallrats, or one of the Kevin Smith movies. But yeah, I'm redoing the buildings here, and since I don't want to show this image any longer, just in case there's like some kind of sensitive thing going on. But I just want to quickly share that with everybody. Work in progress. All right, that's looking good so far. Sorry about I'm 19. It's okay, dude. It's okay. So far, you seem like a really nice dude. Then you pop through the screen and attack me like the main villain in Shocker. Oh no, he's an electrified man. So, there's another dog in here. So if you hear other sounds, you know what's going on. I got Simcoe with me. And then I got a sleeping Chihuahua right now. Who, yeah, Chihuahuas are one of the few dogs who, like cats, will actively choose an owner they like or favor. It's like this little guy was, when we got him back in around June, I think, or July, he pretty much kept to himself until I came home from G Fest and then he just literally, this little guy crawled up on some furniture like a spider and jumped into my arms, and just the moment he saw me too, and I've been stuck with this little guy because he's one of those guys who won't calm down unless I'm around. And when he howls like you would not believe. So animals are fun. So, but at the same time, they can be a handful, literally and figuratively, I might add. Okay. So yeah, tomorrow's live stream, I don't think I'm gonna have the animals in the room. But like I said, this is really just to test out some equipment and all that. Although I really should have hooked up a webcam with me, so just to see how that would work out. Okay. Dead air, gotta say goodbye to the dead air, dead air. Okay, what else can I share here with you guys tonight? Since that's another thing about OBS, trying to get images, you gotta go through like 7 or 8 different windows. You guys like obscure kaiju? I'll share more obscure kaiju. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Okay, who do I have here that would be a neat little subject starter? Do 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 do. No, they're all fairly well-known characters. Bum, 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 bum. Dead air, nothing but dead air. Raph, no dead air. Gotta say no to dead air. Dead air is bad. Dead air is not good. Sing, sing, sing at 1 a.m. I am definitely gonna go to bed the minute we're done here. Do 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 do. Oh wow, I thought I had a bunch of obscure monster images on tap, but these are fairly well-known monsters. That's horrible. That's terrible of me. I've completely ruined my reputation as both an artist and a connoisseur of lesser-known giant monsterism. Is. Anyways, oh wait, we got something here. So, how many of you got how you people are probably familiar with the giant rat monster swarm Nezera, or the giant rat monster Nezera. What is Nezera, you ask? Well, for those who don't know, before the very first 1965 Gamera movie was made, they tried doing another giant monster movie, although this one was less inspired by the success of giant monster movies at the time than it was with Dai Studios' recent release of The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's movie. And that did so well that, in addition to the giant monster boom, they wanted a film about multiple animal attacks slash giant monster. And they ended up try to make a movie called Nezera, which was about a swarm of giant rats, and supposedly one mammoth-sized rat that leads them. Unfortunately, because of Dai's lack of hindsight, they tried using live rats in the studio, and when domesticated pet rats didn't work out, they decided to go get themselves real cannibalistic, constantly mating, disease-ridden sewer rats from nearby, wild rats basically, to try to do the filming, and it just all went downhill from there. But what happened was, the movie basically got canceled, but I believe a lot of the model sets were reused for Gamera in 1965, if they haven't been destroyed and diseased by rat droppings en masse. So Nezera was kind of one of the more famous giant monster movies that never got made, maybe more so than we Americans like to think about Bagan. Bagan in here in America, but in Japan there has been enough interest in Nezera that there's even been like toys and figurines based on the uncompleted movie, I should say, because they did start making it. There was footage. There was even a teaser trailer made, but apparently the teaser trailer featured animal abuse that eventually led Dai to destroy the trailer later on. Uh, Earlier this year, though, it was announced that the people behind the Giant Buddha's arrival, and Juggler, I'll get to your questions in a little bit. They're going to be making a remake of, or their version of Nezera. Nezera 1964, I think it's called. And I saw the Giant Buddha's arrival at G-Fest, which is another modern-day giant monster movie based on an uncompleted or lost monster movie of old. But the Giant Buddha's arrival was kind of more meta commentary slash documentary, commenting, and that wasn't only inspired by the original Buddha film that was lost, but also commenting on it. And I'm thinking Nezera 1964 might be more the same, or 1962. I forget what the name of the new movie. Now, what you're seeing here, though, the director of Nezera still really wanted to make this movie, and sometime in, I believe, the 80s, throughout the 80s, he came up with an idea called Nezera Bat, and this was just a very simple mock-up he made. And I say the 80s because it seems like the plot may have evolved. Okay, it was also a movie about giant rat monsters, but in this case, the beasts were much larger, as you can see, and they had wings. And I think this would have been a more out there giant monster movie than the giant critter on the loose horror film that the original Nezero was planned to be. But yeah, this was a very, very rough mock up made by the. Oh, good, Juggler. You saw Buddha too. I was probably in the same screening with you. I was the big guy with a beard. Narrow that down to none. But yeah, Nezerabat was another weird idea that almost got made, I believe, in the 80s, especially with the Cold War very much on everybody's mind. Hence, continuous images of the Nezerabats constantly being fighting missiles or something of that nature. But yeah, let's get to Juggler's questions here, or just comments. Do do do. Right. I'm pretty mellow. Yes, I do. I have two, one boy, one girl, and they can be a handful. I'm guessing you're talking about your animals. I went to G Fest last year. I'm sorry if I didn't say hi to you. I probably if you did say hi to me, I'm kind of a nervous person in person, so I'm sorry if I did. But if I do go back to G Fest this year, which is a big if, because I'm sort of 50-50 on it. It's like because last year I spent a lot of money, not just on G Fest, but also other Godzilla related events going on throughout Hollywood. Selective screenings, marathons, mini conventions that were kind of held out of public. And I kind of not want to go crazy with the giant monster stuff again. Although I am definitely going to make an effort to go see the King Kong re-release in theaters on March 15th, I believe. Okay, yes I do. Raiga, Bolton from Ultraman, Rat Monsters. That went south very quickly, I agree. So yeah, and you saw Buddha too. Yeah, Buddha is a very interesting movie, although it's definitely one of those films where if you're trying to get somebody into the kaiju genre, that might not be the way to do it. You're probably better off showing one of the more fun Showa era Godzilla movies, or one of the more action, adventure heavy Heisei films. Although every time I introduce non kaiju fans to Godzilla movies, I tend to do the Millennium series. And Final Wars, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and GMK tend to be very big winners. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where you have to remind the person in question that these are sort of standalone anthologies and not really connected films to both each other and older films. Because then they start asking questions, why is Godzilla evil all of a sudden? Where's Minya? You know, that kind of sad talk, so to speak. So, oh, here's another obscure kaiju I can share with everybody right now. He'll be showing up in a little bit. So, once I get the image ready. Fit to screen. Okay. So, yeah, I forget there is a delay on YouTube, so I'm not going to rely on the YouTube to start talking about these things. But let me read this for. Hi there. My dad has a big beard too. His name is Chris, by the way. Think of me like Octagon. I'm shy and nervous myself, though. My mother's a Buddhist, by the way. Oh, interesting. And I like the Kurosaga. I do like the Kurosaga a lot, too, but I think I favor Godzilla against Mechagodzilla a lot more than the latter movie. And hold on. Little guy. Little guy, stop. Stop doing what you're doing to your new what you know what. Okay. But yeah. So the monster image I just posted right now is an illustration, a book cover illustration for John Bruner's lesser known monster novel, The Atlantic Abomination. This novel was made in the 60s again. And I don't know if it was definitely influenced by the works of H.P. Lovecraft, but it may have also been heavily influenced by the giant monster movies of the 1960s, which, although nowhere near as plentiful as the 1950s, they were definitely there was a lot of them in the 60s. It was the golden age of kaiju. But the Atlantic Abomination basically tells the story of an ancient alien creature who's about 30 feet in height. With incredible telepathic abilities, who is awakened from beneath the sea floor and decides to come up on shore, where he uses his telepathic powers to enslave an entire city population. I have yet to read this book myself, but I've read some reviews and some very good synopsis of the story. And basically, this cover doesn't do the story justice, because there's an older cover that's even more messed up, where it's like thousands of human beings desperately holding up the titular monster up, like emperor, and like when you see an emperor being rolled out in an old Greek movie, there's like, four people holding him on a, oh god, a plank or something. I can't think of the correct terminology, but it's like hundreds of people desperately trying to hold up this giant monster who has no regard for their lives and just controls them as worshipping slaves, or sycophantic slaves. And the book was definitely inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, although there's definitely elements of giant monster movies of the 1960s in there. In fact, if Hammer Studios was more ambitious, I could see them making a film adaptation of this. Although they probably would take down a lot of the apocalyptic overtones down, like they sort of did with the Quatermass movie, Quatermass in the Pit, aka 20 million years to Earth. But yeah, I recently discovered a large scan version of this particular book cover. Now, this is one of the later editions. Sadly, the Atlantic Abomination had a recent reprinting, but it has one of the incredibly boring cover where it's just a squiggly lines with the Atlantic Abomination, John Brunner. And from what I understand, this was one of the many cheapy quickies that John Brunner wrote, because he's a respected science fiction author, but he made a lot of like cheap science fiction horror novels in between, and apparently they were filled with typos up the yin yang. So hold on, I gotta take a drink to quench my dry throat here. Okay. And it's funny, the minute I start talking, all the animals want to get all hyperactive and crazy right now. Ah, darn. Yeah. Animals. Okay, if you're wondering, Octocon is my favorite character from Metal Gear. This is something that I want to see as a movie now. I'm very strange when it comes to this book. So, yeah, it would be cool to see this done as a movie, but again, it was such an kind of some insane visuals, like just thousands of people uh, crawling over each other just to come and worship this giant sitting monster pretending to be an emperor. It's something I don't think you could easily do in a live action form without it coming off comical or surreal. And sadly, a lot of modern day movies they definitely abandon the surreal for more pedestrian fantasy elements. I like the Marvel movies, but they're definitely dumbed down compared to their original comic book inspirations. And I don't know. I think I would be interested to do a movie version of the Atlantic Abomination, if but at the same time, I don't know. I don't have much faith in giant monster movies. Like, I'm happy that we got so many giant monster movies right now, but at the same time, it does get a little frustrating that it's like, what is it? I enjoyed Godzilla King of the Monsters. It was a very fun romp, but at the same time, it was like, can't we just like linger on the giant monster fight scenes a little bit more and see them in the daytime? It's like, instead of the camera kind of pull back all the time. So it's a lot worse than the 2014 movie, and don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the 2014 movie. But yeah, it's like Kong Skull Island is such a good movie. So, oh my goodness, I forgot how dry my throat is tonight. I've been up for a long time though. So, yeah, I got up early this morning. And I've been up since. I was supposed to take a little bit of a nap before I tried this test, but I decided not to, which was a dumb mistake. Now my eyes are bleeding. Ah! Oh my goodness. So, what other obscure monster can I share with all you fine gentlemen tonight? Boop, 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 boop. Going down the list. Going down the list. I got a folder open, so I can't see the chat section, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. Ooh, juggler. Obscure monster. Where's an obscure monster? Thank you for your terrifying commentary, little one. Yeah, he's so small and he has such a loud bark. It's insane. It's insane and wrong. You're wrong, dog. You're utterly wrong. Yeah, it's pretty pedestrian. It's like a lot of the monsters that I do have on tap are not very good for talking about, so. A lot of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Screw it. I'm going to share some artwork. There's always artwork to be shared. This is... Oh, no. A large dragoon type insect has just entered. It's like I thought I had everything closed up, too. No wells. Oh. Okay. How about this fellow right here? I know exactly. Alright, let me check out Juggler's questions, if there are any. Have you ever seen the... Oh, darn. There. Have you ever seen The Mystery of Mamo? The Gion dub is my favorite. Yep, Marvel is pretty dumbed down. They can't all be winners. I did like Pacific Rim Uprising. Enjoyed 2014. You're my favorite customer. Yeah, dog. Okay, hi, doggy. You're my favorite customer. Okay. I have not seen Mystery of Mamo. I'm guessing that's one of the Lupin the Third movies. The only Lupin the Third movies I've seen is, of course, the one from Hayao Miyazaki, Castle of Cagliostro, as well as the one where he goes... Oh, God, this narrows it down to none of them. Goes to a foreign country that's in the middle of a war, and there's like some nanotechnology evolved, and in the end, the main villain becomes semi-nanotech, complete with a giant version, and he... Oh, God, he looks like one of the... He looks like a more buff... He looks like a cross between... Oh, how can I say it? Oh, darn it. The big... God. The conspiracy nut who was in Predator. You know, it's like, oh, I'm here. Ha, ha, ha. You know, that guy. Oh, darn it. I don't know. I can't think of it. But yeah, he looks a little bit like that mixed with the main villain from Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. So, I don't want to say Sergeant Slaughter, but I know it's not the same actor. Although they... Oh, Jesse the Body Ventura mixed with the lead old guy villain in Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. It's like... But it's like... Yeah, I barely remember anything of that particular movie. But no, I have not seen Mystery of Mamo, unfortunately. And it's so hard to find older anime unless you go out and buy it or get like a really good... subscription service. It's like with it, Crunchyroll has so many titles for free online, but if you wanted to see like older titles from the 80s, yeah, it's not gonna work. So, okay. Alright. Now, the picture I just posted is a... Okay, I plan on doing Kaijun, which is supposed to be a month-long art-based challenge related to giant monsters. You know, hence Kaijun. It happens in June. But I really want to do it big time because last year I did Kaijun on my DeviantArt page, and it was just nothing but random giant monster images. Some of them I had on tap in my back storage. Some of them were brand new pieces, but a lot of them went against what's the rules of Kaijun is supposed to be, and basically you're just supposed to feature 30 to 31 original giant monsters or redesigns of existing giant monsters. And going through my backlog, I have a lot of sketches and inks that just need to be either inked and colored or just colored. And thankfully I have done some little sketches here and there. And I figured that I would do mostly original monsters. I have so many of them to share. But I could also do redesigns of existing monsters who I feel need redesigns. But also monsters that were planned but never made and were never given any artwork designs whatsoever. Alright, Lord Zed was the voice of Mamo. I can see that. The actor, Axelrod, He usually played oddball characters like that. You know, it's like Mamo looks a lot like the one Zentradi dude he voiced in the Robotech cartoon. But anyways, one idea is to take a bunch of kaiju that were never made and just give them my own take on their design and be playful about it too. Especially since again these guys never got made, so much so that they never got into like concepts and spec scripts were made, but there was never any designs. And there are a lot of monsters like that. For example, a little known fact: Nikatsu, the Japanese studio Nikatsu, went through like at least 4 different giant monster movies, technically 5 if you want to get anal about it, before deciding to finally make Gappa. And among those films were Monster Gigant, which was about a giant spider from space, Monster Momonra, which was about a giant flying squirrel monster, possibly mutated. The one that came closest to completion was Regon, Devil of the Seabed, about a giant manta ray that causes mayhem around the world and eventually fights a giant iguana. But the most interesting of these 4 giant monster movies, at least in my opinion, and the one that usually gets everyone's ears perked up, is Architeus, like as the giant squid. And basically the story, it was, let me read it directly from Giant Squid Monster Architeus. Architeus was one of 4 film concepts considered by Nikatsu as their attempt to enter the kaiju boom in the 1960s, which began with Momonra, followed by the giant monster Gigant, and ended with Regun, Devil of the Seabed. These 4 projects were all dropped in favor of the ultimate completed Gappa the Triphibian monster. The plot. One day, a giant squid named Architeus appears and heroically fights against German Nazis during World War II. A giant squid fights Nazis during World War II. Let me say that one more time. A giant squid battles Nazis during World War II. Now, the concept alone is so awesome that I completely forget or ignore the logistics of how Nikatsu would be able to pull off such a movie, especially considering Japan's kind of iffy attitudes towards World War II. But at the same time, it's a giant squid fighting Nazis. It's like if Indiana Jones suddenly transformed into a dinosaur. It would be both incredibly stupid and out of nowhere, but it would be awesome at the same time. So, in fact, there's a deleted scene where in The Last Crusade, Indy does turn into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he ends up being sent to Jurassic Park. So the T-Rex we thought was a woman this whole time is actually just Harrison Ford transformed. Before I go on about... Juggler says, watch it. There are 4 separate dubs for it. I'm trying to find the memo myself. It's a nightmare to track down and cheap copy... and down a cheap copy of the Discotheque DVD. I really miss Zed, the actor. By the way, I have seen Patlabor. Oh yeah, Patlabor is very cool. These ideas sound strange but interesting, but I'm still listening to you. Squid versus Nazi is awesome, and yeah, I agree. But the thing is, Architeus, I'm probably saying his name wrong. Hold on, let me see. Architeus. The thing about Architeus is, he never made it past the basic plot synopsis and planning stage. So there was no design, there was no prop made. So when I decided to do my own version of Architeus, I decided, well, at first I was going to do something elaborate, like a giant humanoid squid monster with like battleship cannons wearing as armor or something, and I might still use that design somewhere else. But I figured this was the same people who go on to make Gappa. And plus, it's just a giant squid, so I don't think it would look too fancy or weird. So I just took like a basic red-colored squid that's common around Japanese waters, blew it up a bit, and gave it the giant eyeballs that the kind of giant goofy eyeballs that Gappa had. Nowhere near as goofy, yet as endearing as the giant eyeballs of Gezora from Space Amoeba, aka Yogg Monster from Space. But Architeus here, I'm saying the giant squid's name wrong. Architeus. I don't know, I'm actually happy with the way this sketch went. And of course, those are a couple of U-boats in his tentacles. He's shaking them like maracas. So the idea is I'm going to try to get this colored, inked and colored before June rolls around. I'll be a part of my many different Kaijun illustrations. If not, though, I got plenty of inked ones too, so I will not be in any drought of giant monster images. I got tons to do. So, all right. And speaking of Kaijun, I do want to share another obscure monster that does not officially have a design. Okay, let me just get this one up and about. Fit the screen. Okay. So, again, going back to the 1960s, we have there's a short story written, Enlo the Bird. Hold on, let me bring up some information about it so I know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I don't think I'll be able to share all this little wacky information. Okay, so yeah, back in 1950, science fiction writer Nelson S. Bond wrote a story called "And Lo!" exclamation point the bird, and I don't know if it was. It's fairly early, so it came like 4 years before Godzilla, many years before the Giant Claw. A lot of people think it's inspired by the Giant Claw, but Enlo, a bird, came well beforehand. But it's a short story, and the best way I can describe it is it's a Lovecraftian cosmic horror, but with a very offbeat edge, a very offbeat execution. And the creature you see here is the Bird of Time, which is the titular giant bird. And if you haven't read the story, sadly, there's no free version of it readily available online, other than Amazon style download pay to download PDFs. But if you get it, but the story has been reprinted in so many science fiction collections that I think you can easily find it at the library if you find the right collection of science fiction stories. But anyways, and Lo the Bird is very good. It's done in a first person narrative, done with this news reporter who's talking about the events that led to the current state that the Earth finds itself in, and the plot basically deals with this reporter interviewing a scientist who claims that he saw a bird in his a telescope. Um, but a bird so massive and so huge that it came out crystal clear when he was looking out towards Pluto. And this bird is massive. This thing dwarfs Jupiter. This thing flies at an insane amount. It's a creature that defies explanation despite the fact that it looks like a giant bird. And the scientist gives it the name the Bird of Time, which is fitting just considering how massively monstrous this thing is. And the big plot twist of the story is that the reason the creature. Calm down, I know you don't like spoilers, little guy. The reason the creature is flying to our solar system is because all the eggs and all the planets in the solar system are her eggs, and they're on the verge of hatching. And some planets are lost in this as the giant bird. Both the babies crack out of these planet-sized eggs, and also the mother has to pull them out of the eggs. So mankind in the last. So the story ends on an ambiguous note. Mankind realizes that basically the Earth is just one of her eggs that's on the verge of hatching, and they're desperately trying to drill to the center of the Earth in the hopes that they can kill the baby with atomic bombs before the mother comes and tries to help it out of its shell. But yeah, it ends on a very very disturbing note where it's like we still have 44 miles of mantle to dig through, and this morning the Earth began to knock. So, and apparently Harlan Ellison, who's a much more well-known science fiction writer, he utterly adores this story. And after reading it, yeah, it does leave an impact because it's Lovecraftian horror, but with a very kind of offbeat 1950s edge. Juggler is like, what? A bird? The Earth is an egg. Ah! So, and apparently the idea of the planets being giant eggs to a bird or a space monster is nothing new in science fiction. Although I think And Lo, a Bird by Nelson S. Bond was among the first or the best to do it. I know there's another short story by Jack Williamson called Born of the Sun, which also deals with the Earth being giant, related to giant birds. The planets in the solar system being giant bird related, and then Doctor Who unsuccessfully tried to rip off Enloa Bird with Moonfall, I think is the name of the story, where it turned out the moon was actually the egg of a giant dragon monster. But that story was so poorly done and so cheesy that even by giant monster standards, it didn't work. But Anloa Bird, however, from Nelson Bond, is really well written. I would definitely recommend it. It's kind of again very offbeat. It's not exactly funny. It's not exactly scary, but it's a very offbeat tale, and it's just kind of like it would make like a really good Twilight Zone episode if the old Twilight Zone was more open to like giant pure monsters. Because contrary to popular belief, despite some of the grotesque and weird characters we see in Twilight Zone, Rod Serling and his crew were not a big fan of the all ooga booga monsters. So that's why a lot of the monsters are kind of simplistic, sort of like season one Star Trek characters. They're just human beings with slightly bizarre appearances, whether they be aliens or demons. Like oh god, oh darn it. I hate it when it's like I know. Oh darn it, what's her name? The woman who played Catwoman on Batman, dressed in devil's horns. Anyways, Miss Devlin, she's hot. But anyways, this is a fun fact. I was tempted to do a series of illustrations called "The Hot Babes of the Twilight Zone," but then everyone told me not to do it because it was a bad idea. But it's like, have you watched the old show? There's like a sexy woman every episode. So, but then it's like you realize, like, yeah, they're in like a lot of terrible situations. Why do you want to, why would you want to do an illustration series like that? So, but Anne Loa Bird, I'm sorry if I spoiled the ending or something, but it's still a very good story. The way it's written, the dialogue exchanges, it's very awesome. So I would definitely recommend it. So, and thankfully this is a late night live stream, so I don't think I ruined it for anybody. Um, Juggler has another question. Actually, more comments. These ideas sound strange but interesting. Oh, I already read that one. If Jim Carrey was Eric Carter and Jeff Daniels was Dr. Johnson in the U.S. edit of King Kong vs. Godzilla, what would you think of that? That's a very out there question. Godzilla, by the way, is Dumb and Dumber if you need an idea. Oh, okay. Oh god, the American version of King Kong versus Godzilla is already kind of iffy as it is. I don't think we need Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels in it. Although those guys can do drama quite well. So, okay. So how long have we been streaming so far? I will check my. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, an hour. Okay, so let me see if there's. I think I'm gonna wrap it up in the next 15 minutes. But let me see if there's any other pictures here I can share. And plus, this dog is really getting annoying. So, do 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 do. Not. Oh no. I like OBS, but if you're trying to do something quickly, it can't be done. You got to go through like I swear like 1, 2, 3, 4 different button options before you can get to what you want. So, 6 actually. Oh god, that's ridiculous. Do 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 do. Who else to share? Who else to share? Oh, what the heck? I think I haven't posted these anywhere, but might as well. Okay, so I have this series on DeviantArt called the Kaiju Portraits, and they're just as they are. They're portraits of giant monster characters, and they're fairly simple. It's just a giant monster and a black background. And the thing about the Kaiju Portraits is they're very easy to do. Um, but I haven't done one recently except for this one. And I decided in fact I just finished this one last week. And I decided to do a kaiju portrait based on Triax or Triax. Triax? I don't know. He's an oddball monster. Triax from the Marvel Godzilla series. Before I continue, I want to read this. And I thought the Nezero trailer was horrific going off what you said about it. It might have been sewer rats, but still. Would you have want to see a Mashishin Krieger movie? I would. I don't know who that is. Let me look it up on Google. Machine Krieger. I am unfamiliar what this character is. All I see is a giant robot. A weird looking robot. It looks like the bio droid from Gunhead, only a little better looking, I guess. Okay. But anyways, yeah, so the oh god. Hold on. Yes, I have a chihuahua that's sleeping on my keyboard and is impeding my ability to do anything. Thanks for nothing, dog. Triax, which is weird because he doesn't have any sharp objects on him. But Triax, again, I'm reading from Wikizilla. Triax is a mega monster kaiju first appeared in issue 12 of the Marvel Comics series Godzilla King of the Monsters. Dryax is a bizarre creature who resembles a tortoise, but has a large beak and eyes with yellow irises that are separated from the rest of his body by stalks, giving him characteristics of land snails and slugs. Triax's legs are short and stumpy, resembling those of an elephant. Triax's shell is a dark green. So, and the history of Triax is the aggressive warlords of the planet Megan had long employed gigantic, cybernetically enhanced monsters in their countless campaigns across the universe. Their most tenacious foe was a rival civilization known as the Betans. Like the Megans, the Betans too employed giant monsters in their wars. However, the warlords of Mega proved to be the superior monster makers and eventually began to prevail upon their ancient enemies. Pivotal, oh darn it, pivotal to the furtherance of their campaign against the Betans was seizing a small, almost intelligent world called Earth. To achieve this, the Megans sent out 3 of their most powerful monsters, the awesome Mega Monsters. One of these creatures was the monster Triax, who was sent in advance of the other 2 Mega Monsters to test the might of the only creature the Megans felt might pose a threat to their conquest of Earth, Godzilla and Red Ronin being a giant robot. It was Triax who initiated combat with the 2 Earth champions, attacking them in the wilderness of Utah, and eventually forcing a battle of Salt Lake City, where he was joined by his fellow Megan monsters in a conflict that would decide the fate of the world. Of course, Godzilla and Red Ronin win the battle, and Triax and his fellow Mega monsters end up dead at the end. Also, I think the Betans Megans decide to join forces or something. But yeah, I did a kaiju portrait based on Triax, because he has a really interesting design. Like, the Mega Monsters are all cool, but my favorite has to be Triax, because he looks so unthreatening and passive and mellow. And it's not just, like I think they said it best, a mix between a tortoise, so an elephant, and a snail is the best way to describe it. But he has such a appealing and innocent looking design, despite the fact that he is a bruiser and creature of war. And I think that would be the case if giant monsters were real. They would not look like the scary Hollywood beasts. They probably would come in a wide it's like, what is it? A lot of people think elephants are, sweet and kind, but they forget that a bull elephant can be freaking terrifying and more deadly than a shark in many regards. Or at least kill more people than a shark, I should say. Oh my goodness, I've been talking for over an hour. My throat is parched. Hold on. Oh, should have gotten some ice in there. So yeah, I decided to do a kaiju portrait of Triax here. I had done one previously a long time ago, and what I did is I took that image, I blew it up, and I re-inked it digitally and recolored it. But as I was doing it, I realized that I got a lot of the details wrong, particularly the back shell, which is supposed to go further, almost like the hide of a rhinoceros or a hippo. It is a shell, by the way. So... it's like... If I didn't have work today, I'd be in much better spirits right now. But yeah, I decided to make the design a lot more closer to the original Triax of the comics. I'm not that successful though. His head in the original comics is way bigger. Also, oh, by the way, Juggler says I am on DeviantArt and my name is the Toku Phantom on there. By the way, I'm going to follow you after. Oh, that'd be cool. So yeah, I'll check it. Okay, it'll be cool to know you on DeviantArt. So it's so many fans watch me. It's wonderful. So, but yeah, this is Triax. I just like this design so much. I don't know if I'm gonna do the other Mega Monsters, but at least I got Triax here. And I do plan on posting them on my DeviantArt site before the week is over. Maybe tomorrow night if things aren't too distracting with the live stream. So, okay, I'm going to... Okay, let me see if there's another illustration I want to share, because I'm going to be ending this live stream within a half an hour. Maybe sooner. Dog? No, dog. You wanted to be up here, but you're not going to start... scratching yourself in front of the microphone. I am stuck with so many animals, and this is not even counting the 5 stray cats we adopted. So, or they adopted us, more like it. Oh, of course. So, how many of you are familiar with the movie Attack of the Super Monsters? Okay, so there was this 1970s Tuberaya produced series called Dinosaur War Eisenborg, and the series was the second in a trilogy of dinosaur-based action adventure shows. And in Dinosaur War Eisenborg, the plot was that a telepathic dinosaur by the name of Emperor Tyrannus, or Ururo, basically empowers or mind controls various dinosaurs to do his bidding to take over the real world. I mean, the above surface world, where the humans live. And the show is notable because all the human characters are done as animated characters, while the giant monsters are done as either puppets or guys in suits with model sets. And I think it was mostly done as a stylistic choice on the part of Tuberaya Productions, because they had great success with the first series in the trilogy, Dinosaur Catchers Born Free, which was about a group of high-tech dinosaur rescue workers, who battled against more voracious dinosaurs and also human beings who wished to harm the dinosaurs. Here, though, it's a straight-on us versus them, super advanced vehicles versus giant monsters. In fact, Movie Bob said it best. It's basically Thunderbirds Argo versus Godzilla. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Good morning, by the way. I do too. I remember that. So, okay, Juggler, thank you for being around here. I think I will end the live stream pretty soon after I'm done talking about this illustration. But you have a good night, and hopefully I'll see you later today with the more extensive live stream of consciousness. But yeah, so the first 4 episodes of Dinosaur War Eisenborg was brought over to America in the 1980s and put together as a compilation film called Attack of the Super Monsters. And Attack of the Super Monsters is a lot of fun, although I think the original series is more enjoyable to watch on an episode-by-episode basis. But the second episode features a giant giant pterodactyl monster named Tyranno. Not a good name. And I think he was just called Tyrann in Attack of the Super Monsters. But he's basically a giant fire-breathing pterodactyl who can control these bats, these carnivorous bats that range from the size of a regular bat to giant man-eating beasts. Hence the reason why one of these bats have a little bloody skull in its mouth, its maw, jaws, teeth. So the idea is I want to do a portrait of Tyranno here, along with his army of yellow bats. They don't really have an official name, so I'll just call them the yellow bats. I want to fill the sky with nothing but bats, but the 4 main bats are the ones you see here. So it's going to be a much more elaborate illustration. I don't think I'm going to do it for Kaijun, though. Because it's an accurate picture based on the original monster itself. It might be a good Halloween illustration, though, considering the grim nature of everything. But we'll see what happens. I just wanted to share that with you. So, okay. So I think that's about it. Unless somebody suddenly shows up in the chat and wants to ask a question. But despite that, we've been going for 70 minutes. And I think I'm going to call it a night. So, and I'm going to play out the rest of the song that I started. Although it will probably be the last couple of minutes. So, yeah, the last 3 minutes. You're not here forever. But I want to thank Juggler for coming on board. It was really cool. Good night to you too. You're a cool dude. Riff Tracks did that movie, by the way. I know our friend Faith Take, who also reviewed our Gamma versus Mystery Science Theater fan episode. She did a review of the Attack of the Super Monster episode, and it looks like a lot of fun. And also, speaking of, if you like Riff Tracks, me and Brayton, who did the Mystery Science Theater fan films together, we're doing a riff tracks of the original 1974 Mechagodzilla, which should be done by the end of the week. If not, though, expect to see it very early in March, because unlike the Mystery Science Theater fan episodes, this will have very little production to be done with it. But yeah, we're very much looking forward to it. If you go to Brands End Films, you will see a preview of the upcoming Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla riff tracks. We just got to do one more recording before we edit everything together. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on Night Owling with Enshohma. Next time I do this, I'm definitely going to be more awake and with a much less parched throat. But yeah, thank you so much for everything, and I will say good night.